Okay, I have paper on all the pages. So all the pages, I just went through and just cut out my papers, inked them, and just placed them on the book. So the next thing I'm going to do, with all the little scraps that I had left over, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to add a little strip on the bottom of all my little pockets here. And then I'm going to go do that, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, so I have all the little pockets covered with my little extra leftover scraps. So I went ahead and did that on all the, all the books. So I did that on all the little pages, I should say. So the next thing, let me just set these aside. So the next thing we need to do, that we haven't done yet, is we need to cover the outside of our album, front and back. And the measurements for those are 4 1/8 by 6. So it's 4 1/8 across by 6. If you want to use just pattern paper, that's the size you're going to do. But I want to use, for my covers, is I actually want to use the cover of the pad, the front cover of the paper pad, for the cover of my album. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking a piece of colored cardstock, and I just chose green because I thought, since this is a garden theme, I picked green. So what I'm going to do is measure this 4 1/8 by 6 and put that on my cover, and then I'm going to cut piece that's going to go on top of here a little bit smaller, and the measurements for those turned out to be 3 7/8 by 5 3/4. So what I did was I just cut a piece from the cover, and then I'm going to just center it and have a little bit of a green border all the way around. And that's what I'm going to do for the covers of my little albums. Now the back, I might just leave with the green cardstock. I might not put anything on that page yet. I'm still working on that. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my pieces of my colored cardstock, and then I cut out my pattern paper from the cover of the album, which I'm going to use this one here, the cover. I'm just going to cut that into the size I need. And then I'm going to put those on the front of my albums. And then I'm going to go do that, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I have them all covered with the paper. And then it's just green on the back. Now I do have a piece. Let me go get that real quick. I do have a leftover piece of this one right here, with the little pink flowers, and it looks like this on the back. I might cut this and put this on the back of the albums, but I'm not 100% sure on that, so I'm holding off on that for now. Well, anyway, this is what and another reason why I wanted to use the colored background, the colored cardstock, is so when I cut this out, I don't get a lot of the writing. I was trying to avoid cutting into a lot of the writing here, so I kind of used the colored cardstock to give me room so I could make this cut out small enough yet big enough, and try to avoid the words. So it did pretty. But this is the image I really liked. I really was trying to figure out a way to use this piece right in here because I liked that garden, but I couldn't figure out how to cover up scrapbooking. I probably could leave it because it's really nice, because it is just a little album, and so that was a thought too, but I decided not to use it, so oh well, it is what it is. Well, anyway, this is how they are. They turned out really nice. So there's this one. I used this piece right here. See how I avoided any of the writing by adding the colored cardstock in the background, so it just made it a little bit easier. So I got this one, And then I use this image from the cover, little bicycle, and I use this one right here. So we are all set with the albums. The only thing we need to do now is attach the pages into our album. I do have plans to make a pocket for this side, but I'm waiting for something right now in order to do that. I need I'm waiting for some paper, and once I have that, I'll be able to. We'll go ahead and do that once I receive the paper, and we'll just use the scraps. We can probably even use this some more of the cover, and so we'll see what we have. So right now, let's go ahead and get things set up in our book here to start putting our pages into our albums. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to add score tape to our little hinges here. We could have done that back in the very beginning when we made these, but I didn't even think to do that because we could have just put the score tape on and just left it until we're ready. But this is what you need to put score tape on both sides. You need to put one on the front side, and then when you flip it over, you need to put a piece on the back side. You can take it up as far as you want to the top without going over, but you definitely need to stay away from your score line. So that's what we need to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some score tape, and I just take mine all the way up to the top as far as I can go without going over, like this, and then I just cut a piece off, and then it's like that. So that's kind of like what I do with mine, because I use both score tape and liquid glue when I put in my pages. And then I'll do the same on the back. I'll just add a piece, and I'll go up as far as I can go without going over. And then cut a piece. Any little overhangs you see, you can just snip those off. I see a little piece here. I just want to snip that off. Maybe, if I can get to it. There's the last one here. Hope I wasn't in your way. I wasn't even looking to see. So I have a little piece hanging off here. I need to snip that off. And once you have your score tape on, you really need to make sure you burnish this really, really good. You definitely wouldn't want your pages to come up. Alright, so now this is all set. And we just need to do that for all 3 albums, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have all my score tape on my hinges. Now we just need to remove the score tape and attach it to our pages. Making sure my little album's the right way. And I have these over here in the order that I want them to be. So this is I'm going to start on the back and work my way forward. Now I'm going to do the first one with you on this one, but the rest of them I'll probably have to do off camera because I really need my face in there to see exactly where that score line is so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to do the first one and wish me luck without sticking my face all the way in there. So I'm going to remove the score tape. Now some people remove score tape only on one side and then put the album in, then reach in and grab it and pull the other piece of score tape off, but I'm going to remove both because I add a little bit of wet glue too, just to help me with some wiggle room that I might need. Make sure I have it where I want it to be. There's not much wet glue, just enough to give it enough little bit of glue so I have some kind of, I'm able to move it. So let me just get my hand in here and then just line that up in there. Make sure I'm looking for my hinge, make sure I'm away from that. Yeah, now I can press. Now I press really good. And I can just press it like that. Okay. So we've got our first page in. So all I need to do is remove the score tape on these and get the rest of my pages in, and I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, so we have all our pages in. Now, I was thinking of putting a pocket on the inside cover here. I might even put one on the back page, on the back cover too, but right now let's concentrate on the front. If you want to do a pocket here, this is what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to get a piece of cardstock for the envelope. I'm calling it an envelope, and you're going to want to cut it at 5 by 5 3/4. So you'll have a piece that looks like this, 5 and 5 3/4, and then you'll cut a small little piece that is 1 1/2 by 4, and it'll look like this. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to go to your scoreboard. I'm going to slide that in here. And you're going to score on the 5-inch side. You're going to score at 1/2 inch, and then you're going to come over to 4 1/2. And then on the smaller one, you're going to put it in on the 1 1/2 inch side, and then you're just going to score down 1/2 inch. So why don't you do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so all we need to do now is we just need to fold on our score lines. So just fold on our score lines. And we can put our double-sided tape on our edges right here. Now on the smaller one, your tape goes on the outside. When you open it like this, it'll look like this. This is where you want your tape to be, like that. Okay, so now we need to cut our pattern paper that we want to cover these with. Now for this part here, for the very front, you need one piece that is 5 7/8 by 3 7/8. And for the little flaps, for flap, you're going to need 2 pieces that are 3 7/8 by 7/8. So let's go cut those, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I cut my pieces. This is what I'm going to have here. This is the one I cut to go over this right here. That one's going to go on here. And then for my little flap, I got these little pieces here that I just went and saw what I had in my scraps and just did that. So if you want decorative corners, you're going to want to do that now, or you can just leave it straight across. I have a little corner rounder. I'm just going to round my corners on this right here because I want a little corner. So I'm just going to round my corners so they're just like that. And then I'll do that with my paper. And then one's going to go like this. And then when you flip it up, one's going to go like that. So I just need to round those corners. So, and then I just need to re-ink where I cut. There we go. Now the first thing we need to do, because we are going to be using magnets to close this down, but the first thing we need to do is we just need to get this in our book. And so the first thing we're going to do is we can put our decorative paper on the outside of this, but not on the inside, because that's where our magnet's going to go. So let's go ahead and put our little decorative paper on the outside of that. So we can see what we've got here. And this is just going to give you a little border all the way around. So that's what that's going to look like. Ooh, let me see. That's what that looks like. I'm having issues with my little topper here. The glue just doesn't come out very well. Okay, now we're going to put this piece in our album first. So what we're going to do is, what you need to do is you need to just line up the top and this. I'm just lining it up with the paper that I used to cover the inside. I'm just lining it up with that piece. And you can use score tape for this, you can use wet glue, or you can be like me and use a combination of both. Just in case you need a little wiggle room, you've got it. Because you know, score tape, once it's down, it's down. You don't get any wiggle room with that. So let me just line this up. I'm sorry if my head's in the way, but I need to see exactly where I'm going with this. Now, I'm going to put a magnet on mine right now. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to hold it in place with this little piece of, whoops, I'm sliding. And the reason I'm doing that is because I need to know, when we have this piece in our album, we're going to be cutting out a little notch so you can get things in and out of the envelope. So I need to know how far down I can make my notch. So I need to put a magnet here, and then it's going to show up on here how far down I can go with my little notch. So that's why I do that first. And I'm just going to set that there so I don't lose it. So let's go ahead and we can attach this to our envelope. Now when I cut this out, this little part right here will not have a little border from the craft paper. I'm just going to ink around that, because I'm going to be sliding in to do that, as a matter of fact. So let me go ahead and attach this. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this to the front of that. And you know what I did wrong, don't you? This doesn't go on yet. Oh my goodness. We need to put our magnet on first. So very gently. If you use wet glue, you'll get lucky. Okay. Let's put this on first. I'll be right back. Okay, I had to get a drink. I was losing my voice. So what you're going to want to do next, before we glue anything right here, it'll be easier if we just take this piece, line it up where you're going to want it to be, put a little bit of glue. Is that where I want to be? Yeah, I think I'm right where I want to be. I want to be right there. So I'm lined up. This is where I want to be. So I'm going to put a little piece of glue right here. Bring the flap down, and it's going to make a mark. That's where my magnet needs to go. So I'm just going to stick my magnet right there. Now I know how far down I can bring my little, and you don't have to have a great big, because it's just going to be a little sliver taken out. So I'm just going to cut a little opening. You can use a circle punch. You can just cut by hand. You can take your, I was going to say you can take your glue, but I have it. You can take one of your tapes and use that as a guide, and just give yourself enough room to cover that magnet with your pattern paper. Let me do that and I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, a little bit on the measurements that I just gave you. I'm going to try to edit them out, but in case I don't or I can't, I'm going to say them now, and they will be corrected in the description box below where I have everything printed out, so the correct ones will be there. On the little flap here, I know I already attached it to my book, but I had to do a lot of measuring here. I had asked you to score only on the 1/2 inch, but what you're going to want to do is you want to score on the 3/4 inch and the 1/2 inch, because we need that little bit of a gusset right here to go over all the paper, because without it my magnets weren't working. I mean, I even tried different magnets. It just wasn't working. So I went ahead and just made another little score line so we have a little gusset, and now the magnets will attach the way the way they're supposed to, with the paper and everything on it. So let me so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue everything and attach it into the book. Now when you put your paper, when you put this in your book, you know you had the score tape on the side, don't forget you need to run a little beading of wet glue or score tape at the bottom of your pocket so that things don't fall out. So you need to do that and then attach it to your book. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, we got the pocket in. So the pocket's in, and it just flips up like that. And there is a place, you know, you can use it to, you know, put something in there if you want. And like I said, it's not a very big, I mean, if you were to make the flap bigger, then you could have your magnet come down lower. But for this size flap, that's where the magnet has to be. And, well, anyway, this is what it looks like. And I have to use another piece from the cover of the pattern paper, which is nice. So that's that. So the next thing, so what we need to do now is we need to, if you want to, we need to make more for the other albums. I'm only going to put one in here because it's getting kind of chunky, especially since I had to add that little gusset there. So I'm not going to really put one in the back. I'm going to leave the back plain for now. And so we just need to make 2 more pockets for the other 2 albums, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have all the little pockets or envelopes made and inside the album. So there's this one, and there's, I did this one. So, you know, and the magnets work on all of them. And then there's this one here, and it goes like that. So the next thing we need to do is we need to get out our cardstock, and we need to make some inserts for our little pocket here. So we're going to need 12 pieces of cardstock that are measured 7 3/8 by 5 5/8. And this is what you're going to get. You're going to have 12 of these. And then when you're going to turn it on the long side, the 7, what was it? The 7 3/8, and then you're just going to fold them in half. And that's going to be our insert. What you're going to need to do, if you want decorative corners, you're going to want to do that now too. So if you want to punch out a little decorative corner around them, I'm going to use a round corner punch on mine, and then we'll just stick them in the little pockets. So I'm going to do that, and then when I'm finished, I'll show you what mine look like. Let me just show you real quick what I'm talking about, what we're going to do here. You're just going to take your paper and fold it in half. If you're going to do a decorative punch, you can go ahead and just punch it. I'm just going to round my corners. And that's what it's going to look like, just like that. And I'm going to leave it just like this, because this is going to be kind of like a journaling page. So the pictures will be on the pages, and when you pull this out, this can be a little journaling about what the pictures are all about. So we're going to go ahead and do this with our 12 pieces, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have all my little inserts in the little pockets. So they all have a little insert. So what you can do is with the pictures, you just have to write a little note about what the pictures are all about. And yeah, so that's how that goes right there. Now I might make a little tag to go in the little pocket here on the pages, but I haven't done that part yet. So let me go see what we have to work with, and we'll start making little tags for that. I'll be right back. Okay, I went ahead and did all my little tags. So I've made a little tag for the little pockets in the album. So I just made little tags, nothing really big. And I just made a little tag for each of the little pockets in the album, like this. And what I used to make these tags was actually the cover, the cover of the paper pad. This is all I have left. I just cut out the size that I wanted. I think I forget the size that I wanted, but I cut out the size that I wanted because I just kind of like did the size of what the pattern, you know, the images were, and just backed them up on cardstock. But that's what I used for to make my little tags. So this is all I have left of the cover. So good use of my paper. So I used all that, and So yeah, so that's what I did. I just cut them out and just made the little tags with the images, and I just backed them up on cardstock. So I had enough to make one little tag for each little, for one little, one tag for one little pocket, like that. So I did that. Now for the back, remember I put my green and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do here, or I did want to put something here. Well, what I decided to do for that is I took this piece here. Now this is a square, and of course this is a rectangle shape, and it wasn't the shape that I wanted, so I cut out the little squares on each of these, and I needed 3 3/4 of an inch across for the size that I wanted to put on the back of this. So I was like 3 3/4 an inch across and 5 5/8 down. The down part was good. I managed that really good. But to get to 3 3/4, so what I did is I took a square and I cut it. Now if you cut on these little ones with the little squares, you need to make sure you cut on a line. So I cut it and then I joined them together. I just brought them together until it went to 3 3/4 of an inch. So what I got after I did that is I got it to look like this. So you can see the little, you can see the seam. You definitely can feel the seam. So that's what I did. I just cut it and then I brought it together until I had the width that I wanted, 3 3/4 of an inch. So it went from this size to this size. And that way it would fit on the back of my album. So what I'm going to do is just, glue it to the back of the album like that. So that's what I did. So I did it for, I did it for 3 albums because I have 3 albums. So I did it 3 times. Now on the back of this is really pretty too, but it has the seasons, and since I only have 3 albums, it was going to drive me nuts only using 3 seasons when there are 4. So I couldn't do that. But it really does turn out really nice, because when I flipped these over, I thought, oh my gosh, these really turned out really nice. But having the seasons, not having 4 books for 4 seasons, I just stick with this. But you can certainly do it the other way if that doesn't bother you. But yeah, either way, just cut it and join them together until they're the width you want for the back of your album, and just glue them together. But just make sure you cut on a line if you're using the little squares, so that it's easier to line up. And so yeah, so that's what I'm going to glue these on the back of my album, and I'll show you what they look like. Okay, I have all my backs on. I have this one. This is what it looks like. This one. So it really turned out nice. And that one. Okay, so I think the albums are finished. We're done working with these. So now we need to just continue working with the box. So yeah, we need to cut our papers for the inside lining, and I'll give you the measurements for that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we need to get our box, and we need to line the inside. And I'm just going to line mine with craft paper, and the measurements that you're going to need are, for the inside, you're going to need 2 pieces that are 6 1/8 by 4 3/8, 2 pieces that are 4 3/8 by 4 7/8, and 1 piece that is 4 7/8 by 6 1/4. Okay, and when you do, after you cut your pieces, before you put any glue on them, try them in the box and make sure they fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put my pieces in my box, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I've got mine all lined. Everything's all lined inside with the craft. And so the box is more, this part of the box is finished. So now all we need to do is just embellish now. So we're going to embellish the box. So I'm going to go get my flowers and everything that I'm going to use for my embellishing, and I'm going to go get all those ready to go, and then we'll come back and we'll start embellishing the box. Okay, I have everything that I'm going to need for my embellishments. I'm going to be using this right here, which came from the cover. I'm going to be putting that up here. on the box. And then I have my flowers. And I also have some of this bling on the roll. Now in my kit I received silver, but J&S Hobbies and Crafts also sells the gold. And I'm actually going to use the gold one. Okay, so I'm going to use the gold. Because it just kind of goes with the brown and everything and theme that, you know, the paper's in. And I also have the 3/4 inch lace that I'm going to use. And of course I have my 49 and Market flowers and the little Tim Holtz white bouquet of flowers here that I'm going to be using. But the first thing I want to do is just set all this aside for now. Because the first thing I want to do is I want to work with the lace. And so what I'm thinking of doing with the box, I'm going to keep it real simple. I'm not going to really lace this all up since it's like a garden theme. I don't want to make it too lacy, but I have to have some lace. So what I'm thinking of doing is just taking a strip of the lace and going down the side of just the front by the opening on this side, and then do the same on that side, and then take and go wrap around the bottom all the way around, and then wrap around the top all the way around. So I am going to do that. Now I don't use hot glue. You could use hot glue. You can also use the art glitter glue. That works really well too. But I'm going to use Fabri-Tac to adhere my embellishments down, because it gives me, it doesn't set up right away, so I have wiggle room, especially when I'm putting flowers and things on. In case I want to move things around, I have time that I can do that. So right now I'm going to put my lace around, and then I'm going to show you what my box looks like. Okay, I have the lace around, and this is what it looks like. And actually I'm going to just leave it just like this, because I like it just the way it looks, just like that. For, you know, this is how I'm feeling right now. I might change my mind later, but right now I'm going to just leave it just like that with just the lace. I think that's perfect just like that. Now on the top, I really wasn't going to put any lace, because covering up with this and all the flowers, you wouldn't see the lace really much anyway. But what I do want to do is I want to cut some of these strips from the bling on the roll, and I'm going to place them right at the very edge of the paper and the card and the craft. So they're going to be like, so I'm just going to cut some strips to fit and glue them like that. And I'm just going to do it around the 4 corners, and that's all I'm going to do right now. And then I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I got the little bling, I got the bling going all the way around on the top like that, and that's how that looks. Turned out pretty nice. I like that. Set that here so you can see. Now I had to trim this to fit between the bling, because originally I wasn't going to use that, and I changed my mind, so I needed to just cut this, and it's going to fit right in between just like that. So this I'm going to put, now I know it has the word scrapbooking on there, but when I put my flower arrangements, I'm going to be covering that up, because I definitely want to use this right here. So I'm just going to put that on with the little art glitter glue. I'm just going to glue that on. Let me just tilt that towards me a bit so I can see. I'll try not to get my head in the way. And I'll just slide that right in there. Perfect. I just want to make sure that's good and down. Good. Okay, that's what we have here. The top back over here. I was having trouble with my top, so I had to take it off. Okay, so now let's get these flowers going here. just wanted to grab my camera real quick because I took a snapshot of how I have an idea how I want them to be. So I have an idea where I'm going with it. So I think I got it. Okay. I just have my phone here with, this is a little snapshot of how I'm thinking I want to arrange my flowers. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. Then I have this. So the first thing is I'm going to be placing my leaves down. So I know I want my leaves. And I know I'm going to be using 3 of them. I think 3 come in the packet. I'm using all of them. So I think I'm going to be doing something like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting down the leaves. So that will be the first thing I do. So let's do that. And I'm just going to put very little on these, just a little here and a little there, just to hold them until I know exactly, in case I need to move things around a little bit. Just a little bit. Like that. That looks good there. This one I think I want to come over here. Right like that. So that's what I have so far. Leaves. Okay. Now I am going to be using this little wooden piece that's in with the flowers. And I'm going to just set that, because I need to put that down now so I'll know where to put my flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down. And that's going to go just like that. So it's going to look like this so far. And it takes a while for Fabri-Tac to set up enough. Okay, so now I made 3 little flower arrangements with the 49 and Market. Those are the pink ones, and then the Tim Holtz, the white ones. I just made 3 little flower clusters, and I'm just going to be putting those around. I might have to trim these because these are really long. So I just need to find out exactly where I want. See how I'm covering up the word scrapbook? Because I knew I was going to do that. So I'm going to be placing my flowers how I want them to be. Fidgeting with them a little bit. Get them where I want them to be. See how much I need to trim off. And then I'll just trim it. And for now I'm just going to put glue on the very bottom of the stem. I'm not going to worry about the back of the flowers yet. I can always add that after I have the flowers where I want them to be. In case I need to move them. It'll be easier to move if I'm only using a little bit of glue on the stem, just enough to hold it in place while I get the other ones going. So that one's going to go here, like that. Then I have one I want to go over here. So I'm going to cut that down a little bit too. There. And then I'm going to put one down here, and then I'll just trim that off here too. Like that. And this is what I've got so far. this. I'm going to put that right up there, like that. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to slide that in right like that. And I think that's all I really want to do with the flowers. I think that's perfect. I don't want to overdo it. I can slide that down just a little bit. You can see a little bit more of the word garden. And you can still see the little bird houses and the little water bucket. And so that's what that looks like. I might later go back and put some Wink of Stella on these just to make them a little bit shiny. But we'll see. So I just need to let that set. And then we'll put the albums in our box and we'll be all set. So let me come back and show you what they look like with the albums inside the box. And I almost forgot one thing. I need to put a butterfly on. I almost forgot. I looked down and I saw that butterfly sitting there. I said, oh no, we've got to put the butterfly on. Because I was going to put the butterfly right here on top of that little bow. So let's see. Let me see how this comes off the paper. So let me see how she has these on. Okay, I see. Has these on with the little glue dot. So I'm thinking this is the first time I've ever used her butterflies, but I think I can just bend it. And then I think I'm going to stick it just like that. That is really pretty. So I'm just going to add some glue underneath here. Make sure I have plenty. And I'm going to put it right like that. Oh, that is so pretty. Let me see if I can bring it down just a little bit so you can see a little bit more of the bow. Yeah, I want a little bit of the bow to show. No sense having a bow if you're not going to show it. Okay, so now we'll let that set. Isn't that pretty? Okay, I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, this is what it looks like, all finished. We've got the lace going around, which is it's a really pretty touch on it. It really is. It makes it a little bit more like dainty. Then we have our 3 albums inside. Then a really pretty arrangement on the top. It goes just like that. And then with the little latch, you just pull your albums out, just like that. So this is it. We did a great job. And I want to thank all of you for you know, playing along and, you know, doing the tutorial with me. And I'll leave all the information in the you know, in the description where you can get all the products that you need to make this really, really awesome. I called it 3 albums in a box. And it's totally for folios, really, because you really can't do too much embellishment on the inside. But everything will be in the description box below. If you have any questions, I will also leave my email in there so you can get a hold of me through that if you have any questions on this. So until next time, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will be talking to you again later. Bye for now.